Snakes are creatures that have aroused man's curiosity since the beginning of time. At present, more than 3,460 species are known, all of which have been completely studied by science. But despite this, there are stories of people who have come across gigantic snakes unknown to men. Next, you will see the history of two expeditions, one to the Amazon and the other to the Congo, in which disturbing events were recorded. Stories in which its protagonists encountered a kind of giant snake, terrifying creatures that could have swallowed their spectators in one bite. It is important to know that what you will see were real events recorded not by anyone, but by professionals, such as Major Percy Fawcett in 1907 and Colonel Remi van Leerde in 1959. Major Perry Fawcett was known for two sometimes contradictory character traits. On the one hand, he dreamed of finding in his expeditions mythical hidden civilizations with great wealth and technologies, such as El Dorado or Atlantis. But on the other hand, he was a soldier, strictly trained to relate exactly what he saw, without novel exaggerations or suppositions. It was 1907, 20 years before his strange disappearance in the Amazon. Major Fawcett had been sent to the dense Amazon to do an in-depth study of the Acre River and the Abuna River. On that occasion, he was sailing in a canoe with some members of a local tribe. At first, he thought he was being deceived by his eyes, until he noticed the restlessness of the locals. Near the small raft floated what appeared to be the triangular head of a huge snake. His fear grew greater when he could see through the dark waters the monumental body of the snake moving closer and closer to the boat. The natives, paralyzed by fear, huddled together to wait for the inevitable. But Major Fawcett had been trained to act quickly in stressful situations. So he aimed his rifle right between the snake's two eyes and fired when it was just a few inches from the boat. He reported that it died instantly and could see how part of its body curled up and carried by the currents to a nearby sandbank. He wanted to examine it closely, but the natives refused to approach the lifeless body of such a monster, claiming that the snake was more than an animal. Therefore, Fawcett had to make his observations at some distance. According to him, the part of the beast that protruded from the water measured 16 feet, while the part that remained submerged measured 46 feet. The diameter, to his surprise, was only about 12 inches. However, this meant that it had not eaten in a long time, and therefore that it must have a voracious hunger. The second story comes to us thanks to the now retired Belgian Air Force Colonel Remi van Leerde. The events took place in 1959, during the Belgian occupation of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Like Major Fawcett, Colonel van Leerde was trained to tell only coherent incidents without exaggeration. He was back in a helicopter from a mission in the middle of the Congo. They were flying over a certain area free of vegetation, when just below them, the colonel sees a particularly large snake. At first, he believed that its size was due to an optical illusion caused by the sun, the height, and the speed of the helicopter. Curiosity took hold of the colonel, who asked to return to the area to observe carefully what they had seen. In the end, it turned out to be a kind of African rock python, about 51 feet long. Its color, says Colonel van Leerde, was as bright black as oil. The pilot tried to bring the helicopter a few feet closer to the animal, but the animal got into a panic, threateningly raising its head. Because of the danger to Colonel van Leerde and the helicopter crew, the order was given to leave as soon as possible. But the time they were near the snake was enough for a photographer among the crew to capture in image the almost mythical African monster. The mythical creatures are often based on some uncertain sighting, but what is told here shows that these types of creatures could roam in the middle of the jungle or the savanna. But what is even more disturbing is the fact that there are still unexplored areas. Who knows what monstrous beasts reside in the innermost and wildest of the jungle? Perhaps it is better not to know.